You've tuned into Bellingham Podcast Media Tech for the week of November 20th, 2016, episode number 20. Coming to you live from the city of subdued excitement, I'm AJ Barcay.
And straight out of Whatcom County, I am Chris Powell. On this episode, AJ reminds us why Open Sesame should not be a password. Hey, I've got a public service announcement for all you out there about passwords and your web browser of choice. And we'll both yammer about our favorite places in the Barkley District of Bellingham. All that and a whole lot of security more on BPM Tech.
I feel like this is security now.
Yeah, exactly. AJ, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. It's getting dark out, dude. And it's mucking with me a little bit, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, but for those of you that are listening to this right now in the dark, we have a brief ray of light to shine up your day. Tell us about the news, AJ.
What, you mean that spark of news that we have coming down the pipe?
That bright spark of electricity and radio.
Indeed. So as you're listening to us on the interwebs, there is this thing long ago, before there was Alan Turing and he made machines that would take over our minds and our lives. There was radio. Shout out to Marconi if he's in the house. No, he's dead. So anyway, if you're listening to us either terrestrially or on the interwebs, Chris and I have a big announcement. BPM Tech is now being broadcasted to you in the great city of subdued excitement, Bellingham, Washington, on local KMRE. That's 102.3.
102.3 on your FM dial or KMRE.org on the web, should you want another place to go online. So thrilled to pick up some syndication. Thank you, KMRE, which is the call sign for the Sparks Museum of Radio and Electricity.
Yeah.
MRE. There you go. I think that's great. And it's a community low power. It's KMRE LP if you hear that sometimes.
Wait, that doesn't mean records? LP? Never mind.
Not long
Bad
play in
jokes.
this case,
Okay.
dude. But so thrilled. What a wonderful opportunity we have. And for those of you listening on KMRE, hi.
Hello.
It's nice to talk with you. So we're thrilled. And but yeah, when are we on the radio?
So right now on the current schedule for the winter time, we're on Thursdays and Saturdays, which I think is pretty cool. Thursdays in the morning. So if you need to get hyped up on tech, you can tune to us on, like Chris said, on 102.3 FM if you're here in Bellingham. Or you can also do it on KMRE's website, or also TuneIn Radio, yes, which is a kind of the one-stop shop if you're on the internet and you're like, oh, I want to listen to them on the air, but online. You can check us out there. And also on Saturdays at 1:30-ish. The reason why I say ish is this is a community station. So you'll notice it's not hard time. So for instance, we were listening today and I think we actually showed up on the air at 9:10,
about
I think
9:13-ish.
Yeah. So if you tune in, you're just like, why is there a bunch of classical music? I thought this was a tech show. So we'll be coming. So it's
enjoy the classical.
No, it's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love old time radio.
Yes.
So we're really amped if you can't tell.
No, it's a great opportunity. And Thursdays at 9 a.m. ish, Saturdays at 1:30 p.m. ish on the Pacific Standard Time.
PST. Yeah.
So if you're over in Japan. Hi, Danny. You may be a few hours behind if you want to listen to the live stream. But anyway, yeah, just totally thrilled. So check that out. We are slowly but surely expanding our BPM empire.
I know.
It's
love
a wonderful
it.
thing.
Long live subdued excitement in podcasting.
All right, dude, let's get down to business. We got passwords and we got security to talk about.
Yeah, so take it away.
So I've been noticing in a couple of occasions as I'm working with clients and friends, a lot of times when they go to a particular website, their username and password is auto-filled in their web browser.
Wait, but that's really good because it saves me time and keystrokes, right?
Why, no, AJ, that's not the best thing that can happen. A password manager is a wonderful thing, but these people don't have password managers. What some of my friends and clients are doing is saving their password within the web browser. And so that causes concerns for me. And so I wanted to at least raise awareness for those of you listening out there. If you happen to let your web browser save your passwords, it is possible that the 12-year-old nosy nephew may be able to, with a couple clicks of the mouse, may be able to see your password in plain view. Mm. And this causes concern in a lot of ways. For Internet Explorer users out there, if you go to Internet Options, the Content tab, go to autocomplete settings, then go to manage passwords. There will be a selection there that says web credentials. And within there, with the right password, if you have a password on your account, y'all are going to be able to click and see what password you have. Now, if you're on Mozilla Firefox, you go to Options, Security tab, Saved Passwords, and then simply click Show Passwords. That's how easy it is to do to check your passwords on Firefox. And for Google Chrome, you're not exempt from this one as well. Chrome://settings instead of like www. Just go to Chrome://settings. Then go to Show Advanced Settings and then Manage Passwords. And I don't recommend you keep passwords stored on your web browser just because of how easy it is for someone to get access to it. In 5 clicks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks in IE, 4 in Firefox, and 3 in Chrome, you're not going to have a partridge in a pear tree. This is going to be a security breach if you leave your computer on, whether it's at the workplace or in your home, and I don't think that's a good idea.
So what's the difference between doing my passwords in a browser versus, like you mentioned, a password manager? How's that any different?
With a password manager such as LastPass or Dashlane or 1Password, you have the bouncer in front of the club or bouncer in front of the vault. You must provide a burly password to get into your vault. When you open up a web browser for the first time, you got to authenticate. When you save a browser to the when you save a password to a web browser, it's there for you right off the bat. And so with a password manager, there's one more layer of security before you grant yourself access. It's kind of like leaving your garage door open as you have all the doors closed in your house. They can still get in. And you happen to go to the store for groceries. You got to be careful about how you are maintaining your passwords on that website.
So on that same note, something that I have seen. So the other thing that I'm starting to notice a lot more now that we've talked and pontificated, as it were, about password management. It's awesome. Use a manager. So it's an app or it's a browser plugin, and you have to log into that app or plugin before your passwords populate in the browser. So know what I'm seeing now? Keep all that in the app or the plugin for the browser. It'll have autofill of their login for LastPass.
It's okay to autofill the email address, but please don't autofill the password so it'll automatically log you in. That defeats the purpose of a password manager.
Yeah.
Only in special rare occasions would I ever suggest something like that. But for the majority of folks out there, that's not a good idea.
Yeah. So what we're getting at is whether you are a geek or not, we all admit passwords are a pain.
Yes.
And they're a pain not because of for us. Like, I get it. Like, I hear this a lot, it's just, why can't I just have one password across everything? Or, why can't I just keep it populated? That way I can just sign in. Nobody's going to be on my computer. The thing is that kind of like what Chris just said, like passwords are supposed to be hard for other people. That's the whole thing. You're protecting your banking. You're protecting, like Chris said, it'd be like leaving your garage door open, even though you have the best Fort Knox locks on your house doors.
We want to get passwords that contain letters, numbers, special characters. Greater than 12 characters is always a good idea. And also to have words, if you decide to use words that not necessarily are that common, but mean something to you. So, for example, I like eating sushi. That's not a word that's typically in the dictionary, but I also like listening to ambient music. Now, ambient can be in the dictionary. When you combine sushi and ambient and you add some numbers around and some special characters, now we're looking at a 16-character password. No, folks, that's not my password that I use. But try to come up with something that means something to you. And if you're concerned about websites, like if you use one for them all, what if one site gets hacked? Then you theoretically have them all. Take part one, do sushi ambient, and then a special character, and then Facebook, eBay, Amazon. Add something at the end for each unique website.
Yeah, and that's a good starting point. I mean, realistically, even that starts leading down, because that's a trend we're seeing. That can lead down to, if you can find the primer of the passcode, that means obviously we can figure out the rest of it. If we can start seeing a trend, like if, gosh forbid, if Facebook gets hacked and eBay gets hacked at the same time, and your email that you use on both is indeed the same, a hacker could compare that email address against both of those passwords and see the trend and guess the next set of passwords.
And then buy a lot of stuff on eBay gets sent to their house, not yours, and your credit card gets charged.
Bingo. So to flip this on its head, what I've been talking about a lot more lately is I hate the term password. Like, it shouldn't be passwords. It should be passphrases. Hence why in the opening, open sesame shouldn't be our password. We should be using phrases. So for instance, if you're a new parent and you have a favorite lullaby that you sing your wee one, Mary had a little lamb, her fleece was white as snow, and then 2016, like literally use an entire section of your favorite book, use Chaucer, use whatever that means the most to you, and go down that road. Because like Chris said, you want to have as many characters, but remembering sushi and ambient, okay, yeah, sure, but maybe you use your favorite lyrics of an obscure song. If it's ambient, I'm sorry, that's not going to help work for you, but maybe the beats per minute, I don't know.
If you're in Bellingham and you happen to know of a particular place to go to, take 3 words that aren't necessarily related, such as museum, comma, radio, comma, electricity, exclamation point. That's a tough password.
Bingo.
And so the more that random you can have, there's a great XKCD comic that talks about the best passwords out there. We may unearth that one sometime.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. When you put a link in that.
Get some stuff that is unrelated to most things, but is related to you.
And yeah, look at it as a phrase. It shouldn't be just a whole bunch of words. Like like you said, sushi. Sushi may or may not be in the dictionary, but again, it's a common archetype of a word. So when we have all of these breaches, and I read somewhere like this last year, we haven't gotten to the end of the year, but there's been like some, I want to say like almost 30 billion accounts compromised in the last year.
It's a lot of accounts.
Something like that. Don't quote me on that exact stat, but like it was an obscene amount of data breaches. Now, much like I said, the more breaches we have, it's not about, that one account, I'm going to change the password to that, is your trends. Like if I'm trying to build a profile of Chris, I may listen to BPM and know that he likes ambient and sushi now, and he likes the color black. And I could build a profile if I was really trying to stalk you. And that's kind of, I'm not saying that this is the trend, but this is how I can kind of see the evolution of data breaches in the future. Is it wasn't that one account, it was all of these accounts over a series of time, and somebody's digitally profiling you to try to get into the bank account or whatever. So that's the reason why that's the reason why I kind of lean towards phrases, and much like you you gotta have a burly bouncer.
And right in front of the password manager, at least something to block access to these website passwords, because those are the keys to a potential credit card that you have. And a lot of stuff can get changed if someone can get access to your email account. Bad things can happen. Now, there's another level of security out there that involves your mobile phone in addition to your desktop.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I lean towards next. Is a big burly password. That is the first line of defense. The second one is what's called 2FA, which is two-factor authentication. And what that means is you have an app or a cell phone number. I know some people are wincing when I say that, but you have another factor of authentication that proves that you are you. And nowadays, because we all are toting around mobile devices, it's easier than ever, because now if I put in my credentials for LastPass, and let's say I'm in Canada. Well, first of all, LastPass also geolocates where you log in, and it will notice, well, AJ's from the US. Why is he in Canada? So immediately it'll throw up a red flag and say, we're going to send a two-factor authentication to you just to make sure. But the second part, even if they've spoofed that, they're like, all right, I know that AJ's in the US. I'm going to spoof that. So now a two-factor authentication query gets pulled up. And what that means is my phone gets a text or I have an app that will give me a random 6-digit number that gets automated like Fort Knox, like every 30 seconds or whatever. And I have to put that in on top of my big burly password. And then I have access to the awesome nightclub that is passwords.
Yes. And this is, unfortunately, we're in this age where the opportunity cost of entering in a 6-digit number is starting to become important, because the consequences of just having a password that you've had for quite some time, let's talk about that in a little bit, but you have a password, now they have to get your access to your phone as well.
Right.
And that could be a lot more difficult to do and decrease your chances of getting hacked.
Yeah. And also with our phones, especially on Android and iOS, a lot more of them, the standard, like the baseline models now have biometrics where you can use a thumbprint or a fingerprint. And that just gives an extra layer. Like now I have to have my thumb on this device or use a PIN to get into my phone. Public service announcement, please put a PIN code on your device. Thank you. And also, I would also throw out on both Android and iOS, you have the option of putting a 4-digit, 6-digit, or alphanumeric password to get into your phone. You do not have to have a 4-digit PIN. Matter of fact, the default now on iOS is they put on the 6-digit PIN, and you have to take that off. But the reason why I say that is, like Chris said, like it's getting easier and easier to kind of figure out, like, oh, is it your birth date? Is it 4 digits? We can easily guess, or getting close, again, based off of multiple breaches and our data lackadaisialness, as it were. We can kind of get trends and figure out how, oh, of course, well, Chris's favorite sushi is at 1216 High Street, and so it must be 1216 to get into his phone. So again, try to add more layers of security, especially to the two-factor part, the thing that's going to double check that you are indeed you.
And one thing to also consider as we're talking about PIN codes or patterns on your Android phone, some phones have some kind of
the swipey thing,
3x3 thing where you can draw the letter C or an S or something like that. Excuse me. Keep in mind that eyes are watching you as you are entering in a PIN code at your favorite coffee house, in line at the store. We have to be on the worst case scenario as technologists. We have to be able to be concerned with this stuff because it's so nice to be able to live without this concern, but bad things happen to good people. Sure. And we don't want you to have something bad happen that will cause a lot of stress in this upcoming holiday season. So if you're going to be entering in the PIN code, kind of like cover it's just like the PIN code in an ATM.
I was just going to say that.
I'm in your head.
Just going to say that.
So it's always good to like put a hand over it. Like if you're in the gas station, you got to enter the PIN code when you pop in your debit card, when you're filling up your gas. Try to protect your information. That's the most important thing we're getting out of here.
Yep. And so to just wrap up that segment, when it comes to two-factor authentication, there are 2 apps that I will throw out. The one that everybody's probably heard of, or at least maybe has seen somebody use, Google Authenticator. It's a free app on Android and iOS where you're able to use basically Google Authenticator to generate that random number after you bond your email or your bank or whatever to the actual app. If you're not a fan of Google, you're like, ooh, Google passwords, that red flag. Cool, got you covered. LastPass also has their own two-factor authentication app. I haven't used it, but it is out there. If you want to be non-Apple or non-Google, if you want to have somebody who, you listen to us and you're like, hey, you guys like LastPass, maybe there's another option. Take a look at their app if you don't want to use Google. And
if you're in iOS land, I can't speak for this in Androidville, but one of the apps that I've tried is called Authy, AUTHY, which is in the App Store, and it is another 6-digit number generator that is tied in with various accounts that you would set up with it. Not sure about the price. I think it's free for a while, but it might be a nominal cost.
Yeah, most of the time these password managers and such, we're talking like $1 a month. Like they don't charge much, and honestly, it's
well worth the price.
Yeah.
So if you're not a fan of Google getting my data, and if you don't know what is this LastPass garbage, well, check out AUTHY, Authy. Which is a nice app to do on your phone as well that can give you that layer of security.
Yeah, and again, rely on biometrics as you can. I mean, we're starting to see this more even on laptops. I mean, the new MacBook has a biometric thing so that you can do your Touch ID. And that way nobody can look over your shoulder and check out your PIN. Right. So that's always nice. So let's go to something a little bit more uplifting.
Let's talk
positive.
Happy.
Let's talk happy.
Yes.
So we're doing our district, our Bellingham by district segment. And right now this week we're doing Barkley.
We've been to Barkley a couple times.
Love me my Barkley.
We've talked about Barkley Village. It's the little urban village going on there in the middle of town, I would say. There's a couple of great places around that some may not be aware of. One of them, I'm going first on this one. It just opened up, and I'm jacked to go to this. It's called Mod Pizza.
I know.
And boy, howdy, that's going to be a packed place during this holiday season. But Mod Pizza gives you so many great choices. And I went there. The first time I went to a Mod Pizza was in Spokane.
Mine was up in Snoqualmie.
Okay, well, there you go. And it's now open in Barkley Village, and reasonable prices and healthy ingredients. And it's not all greasy, drippy pepperoni and meat lovers. You can get some pretty exotic types of pizza going on there, and other dishes as well. Check out in Barkley Village, probably near the Starbucks, Mod Pizza.
Yeah, no, I was excited to see that go into, and it's minimal and very industrial inside. So of course, Chris has his stamp of approval.
You're darn right. How about you, AJ? What's up in Barkley for you?
Okay, so for me, so I like a good smoothie. Okay. And yes, there's another smoothie place in town. There's several, but this one I absolutely love. I actually call them hummingbird juice. It's
Hummingbird juice.
Hummingbird juice. You will understand why.
Tell me more.
It's called Robeks.
Yes.
So Robeks has the logo of the hummingbird, and one of my favorite smoothies is the hummingbird juice.
Okay.
So I jokingly used to call it the hummingbird juice. I love Robeks. First of all, Robeks, if you're listening, to quote Chris, you are the goods. Second of all, when I was doing the house remodel, I was in there almost every morning, especially on the weekends, because like that I'd get like the 100-pound gorilla, which has got, it's basically a meal in a cup. It's great, but the people get to know you, so there's your stamp of approval right there. I don't know if they're local, but the people that are in there, they're local, so I'll qualify that. But no, it's a great service. I love their smoothies. The ingredients are spot on. I mean, they have some random stuff too, like you can get wheat germ and all the other stuff. Or if you're an athlete and you're working on boosting your performance, they also have boosts that you can put into your smoothies. But I really like Robeks.
Not just from the location. It's kind of easy to drive in and drive out as you're going on Woburn Street. But with Robeks, for those of you that are trying to or want to give up caffeine, like I've gone first. What a great place, because it's all healthy ingredients, a lot of fresh fruits, a lot of other types of vitamins and minerals that they're throwing into this blender and hitting frappe, and there's not enough O's and smooth for what you get handed to you. I am a fan. It's about the same price as one of your customized coffee drinks. What if you took a week and replace the coffee that you get in your morning fix with a Robeks? Get a small just to start off with, and try like one different one every week. Viva la différence, right?
Yeah.
And if you go there and try the smoothie, wouldn't it be great if you replaced caffeine and who knows what else goes into the Starbucks, Frappa Mappa Mochaccino, and now you get your customized, healthy, delicious drink on your morning commute.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you're like me and you do like caffeine and you also want smoothie, they also do coffee ones too.
Oh, well, of course they do. This is Bellingham.
But the other tip I want to say is that one, they also have an app. It's a little bit dated, but you hear me out. They do the whole punch card thing and such, but what's cool is that if you have an account with them, which is usually you can give them your phone number or whatever, or if you have the app, you can show them your barcode. I think it's like every 10 points, you get like $1 off. So like if you go in there frequently, like you said, dude, like you can start stacking on dollar off. And it's, I guess I love those guys. Like you got props from me.
Robeks in Barkley Village area off of Woburn Street.
Off of Woburn Street near People's Bank. That's
very
up
good.
There.
Yep.
Hey, Chris, if somebody wanted to get a hold of us and pick our brain about tech or give us a recommendation of a place in Bellingham, how might they do that?
Well, here's an easy way. Why don't you do this right now, folks? Hit pause on your podcast player. Okay. Now go to your home screen and go to your phone app and then type in 201-731-8324. That's 201-731-TECH. And leave us a voicemail. Ask us what's bugging you about your desktop computer or what app you should get on your phone for a particular request. Or leave us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. If you want to have some budget conscious gifts, tech gifts for your teenager, let us know. We'd love to be able to do a little bit of research on your behalf and talk about ways that you can stretch your dollar this upcoming Christmas holiday season.
Yeah. And be nice about it because we like nice people.
Exactly. So as we're wrapping things up, why don't you give us an update on that watch project you've got going on?
Yeah, so a couple podcasts back, I talked about I was building my own watch. Been there, done that. So I got a couple of shout outs, okay? And this is kind of my app on tap, but it's not really an app. So I've been listening to this show for a while. Matter of fact, there are a couple of episodes behind us in series. It's a new show. It's called The Gray NATO, done by these two guys. So they write for these sites like a Blog to Watch and Hodinkee, and they're just really cool guys because they're outdoorsy and stuff. One of them is just across the border up in Vancouver.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. James Stacy and Jason Heaton. These guys are the goods. And what's cool about it is they write about these awesome watches that are thousands of dollars, but also they're just normal guys like us. And they're also divers and adventurers and stuff. And so when they talk about watches, they're actually pretty realistic. Well, early on in their show, I can't remember what episode, they mentioned about this iconic watch made by Seiko called the SKX 007 or 009. And the SKX is it's a budget-friendly diver. If you were to picture, like if I said, think of a dive watch. And if you're a watch guy, you think like a Rolex or whatever. And if you're like, okay, now think of a dive watch you might be able to buy someday. You're like, oh, the Seiko SKX. Like it's very iconic. The case is it's a Japanese designed watch. And so the feng shui is really cool. The crown actually doesn't stick out at 3:00. It's actually cocked down a little bit at 4:00. It's water resistant to 200 meters, bezel, whole 9 yards. And it's like Amazon right now, I think before the recording of this, I looked it up. It's like 200 bones on Amazon.
Pretty reasonable.
It's a reasonable watch for what you get. And what's cool about it is there's almost like a cult following around the SKX where people have figured out and started making mods. You can actually make this watch look like almost any watch you want. You want it to look like a Tudor? There's a company that makes dials that look exactly like Tudors. Or if you want to have a custom bezel, which is what I ended up doing on mine, the bezel is the ring on the outside. Usually it has like 10, 15, 20. It has increments of time so that you know what the minutes are. And the inside, you have your hours. Well, mine, because I have a buddy of mine that's overseas, and for me to call him, I have to look at my phone and go into the clock app and find out what time it is and over in Tokyo, and that's a pain. So I put on, made by a Polish guy, called 1 Second Closer. And what he does is he makes custom mods for the bezel and the bezel ring.
Interesting.
So I actually have a second time zone. It's got 12 hours on the outside, but it also on the inside has the minutes. So I can set my bezel to whatever the time is over in Tokyo. So right now, if I were to set my bezel here, so if we were to actually look at what it is right now, it's probably... Let's see.
That is the sound of the bezel.
That is the sound of the bezel. I love that. So right now, I could probably get away with calling Danny because it's about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock tomorrow. So anyway, really cool. First of all, the podcast is awesome. If you like Chris and I, you'll definitely like a Gray NATO, especially if you're any type of horologist or amateur watch geek like myself. And then also if you want to dive into modding, like this is the thing that I should have started out with as opposed to just jumping into the deep end and building a watch from scratch with a Swiss movement. But I learned a lot through that project.
You learned a heck of a lot, and it's a one of a kind.
It is. And so, and I mean, it's still running like a champ. I love it. But this SKX that I've modded with what's called the Scandi one bezel insert from 1 Second Closer. This watch is, I call it Salish Sea worthy, because I could basically go swimming with this thing and never have to worry about it. It just runs like a champ. So that's my shout out. Gray NATO guys, and also 1 Second Closer if you're looking for parts, if you want to try to mod an SKX 007.
And should the fellas from the Gray NATO podcast be listening in on this? Hey, AJ's your huckleberry, man. He would be a great guest on your podcast, let me tell you.
Thanks, Chris. I don't know about that. But anyway, what about you? You got anything that you've been monkeying around with?
I monkey around with technology all the time. I read a lot of articles about going to ditch your desktop computer or laptop and go mobile only, such as your phone and iPad. I have attempted to take my iPad Pro and go only that, and I've found the drawbacks and the cool parts about it, and it's exciting. But I like the process of getting there. But once I'm there, I got to move on to something else. Really nothing too earth-shattering for project-related stuff. Been teaching some courses on organizing your digital life, talking about some Google skills and everything like that here in town. But I'm probably going to dive into updating my websites because, it's been about 3 months since I made a change. And so, after every season, I got to spruce things up.
Ooh, shiny.
Yes, exactly. And so, I want to learn WordPress because it can advise people, on how to go about making some changes for their own websites. I like going first. And so I'm just dabbling in various areas like that. So that should pretty much wrap it up for this edition of BPM Tech.
Yeah, thank you so much again for listening to us. And if you're listening to us over the air, hello.
Hello.
If you're listening to us on the internet, hello.
Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa. Thank you for listening, rating, and review us on iTunes, Google Play Store, SoundCloud, or now on KMRE. I'm AJ Barce.
And I'm Chris Powell. Thanks very much for listening in, and we'll see you again next week on BPM Tech.